Welcome back to Chat GTT. Today we are thrilled to have with us a true trailblazer in the world of manufacturing and AI, Sarang Kamalakar. He's the CEO of Parenthesis Systems and the mind behind Humac.ai, a groundbreaking platform that's transforming shop floors by bridging the gap between human intelligence and machine precision. With his visionary approach to human-machine convergence, Sarang is redefining how industries operate. He's also a musician, a writer, a family man, and a passionate explorer of life. We are excited to dive into his journey and insights. Welcome to the show, Sarang.
Thank you so much for having me. I mean, it's amazing to talk about AI, which has been one of the things that I've been breathing out, breathing in, day in day out. That's so. Would love to share my perspective and see where it goes. I mean, that's how it is.
A very curious thought, but are all AI startup founders younger? Because the ones that I've come across are generally the ones who are younger in age, and you're one of the youngest, entrepreneur I'm interviewing.
It's a compliment I'll take, definitely. I'm not that young from an age perspective, but yeah, from a thought process, yes, it's. See, what happens is the young people tend to get along with the technology much easier, much faster, right? Rather than some of the thought processes which have been there since ages. I mean, then you have to go through an unlearn, relearn kind of a cycle. So that's where I think that's probably one of the aspects. But it's not necessary. I mean, I've seen some stalwarts. People who don't have hairs or grey hairs,
Okay.
delving into AI, and
That's an interesting observation.
I talk to those
Yes.
particular people. My company is backed by a couple of IITs, so I have so many professors, amazing in the thought processes. They don't want to start something, I guess. They want
Okay.
to back the startups, founders like us. So that's where it comes in.
So, Sarang, I would like to know from you that what sparked your journey into this world of entrepreneurship and technology?
The three aspects which was there, right, when I was working. One was from the perspective of value creation, right. I always felt that if we are building something, right, if it is not impacting on the value chain, whichever customer, whichever industry that is there, right, and if I can't do anything, it's like preaching something and handholding something, there's a huge difference, right. So as a part of, I would say, entrepreneurship journey, the primary objective was to create a value in the ecosystem, and that's where I started. So this is my second venture.
Okay.
My first venture was into HR tech and HR consulting, where we like right from agriculture to aerospace. Must have worked with crazy amount of companies, small, mid, big, large, domestic, international. So always I felt that there is a definite need for that value creation aspect. Second is there's something to create as a person, right. I never wanted to be, so you have two sets of people, right, one who can manage the life, second one who can create the life, right. I've always been into the creative side of it, right. So I always wanted to create, and that's how I've been looking at things, right. Again, diverse cultures, diverse technology, diverse industries help those creativities, help those particular aspects, and make me build something which is very exciting.
Fantastic. And that brings me to the next question, where you've worked across diverse sectors. So, right from manufacturing, logistics, then food, engineering, and automotive. What were some of the key lessons that you carried forward from each of these, work experience in the different segments?
Numbers are easy, people are hard. That's that's how people have been looking at, right. Getting numbers is far more easier than managing people, getting them to do something phenomenal, right.
Okay.
So any organization or any industry segment that you look at, right, it's always the people who are at the realm of the affair, and they are the ones who are driving and building the businesses, right. Vis-a-vis, we look at the other way around, right. We look at that numbers are far more tougher. That's what the conception is. But if I were to draw a line across all the industries, I would say people first is the primary aspect that needs to be looked at. Because if you have right set of people with right attitude, businesses can definitely happen. I'll give you an example for that, right? I was consulting some years back. I was consulting a construction material company, and they wanted to hire people at a leadership position. I got some people from FMCG or other diverse background and put them onto the sales of construction material.
Okay.
And trust me, they did wonders. I mean, the way they approached the market, the way they attacked those particular numbers, the way they built the relationship, it was amazing. So sometimes, it is, if you give right perspective to people, it becomes a very different ball game altogether. At a manufacturing also it's the same, while logistics also it's the same, technology is also is the same, right? I mean, latest we're talking about AI. uh, there is a copilot that is there, right? The way I use copilot for coding and the way you use copilot for coding is completely different.
Yes.
Copilot remains the same, and as a technology it is the same, right? But the way I apply technology and the way you apply technology would be completely two different
Yes.
stream of thoughts, right? And that can actually give you a very different result. So I would always say that people centricity should be at the core of everything that we look at. uh, and the technology should always be the backbone of every damn thing, right? When we do anything. So if you ask me, I would say that in one line, that any transformation, digital transformation or any other transformation for that matter, has to be a behavioral led transformation, right? It can't be a technology led transformation.
Okay. Okay.
When you talk about behavior led transformation, it does mean that you are building value system in the company, you're taking those particular aspects. So yeah, I mean, that's what my key learning has been.
Very interesting, because that one sentence that you use, that people first, and we have to also look at how we're channelizing people's behavior to adapt to new technologies, and ensuring that we walk with them along with the advent, and with let's say maybe adapting to whatever is coming our way, to the new AI space and all that. But as a founder, as somebody who's worked very closely in the technology space and with people, what do you see, Sarang, as a scope of people synergizing with the AI technology? Like, where we talk about human intelligence marrying artificial intelligence. How do you see the future?
Brilliant. I mean, that's what we are doing at Humac, right? So I'll put it in a different fashion, right? There are a lot of people who are trying to replace humans with machines, right? I have taken a very contrarian view, where I'm trying to put them together as a team, right? Can we create something like an ambient or an ecosystem intelligence, I would say, where the machine and human intelligence, compute and cognitive are coming together, they're converging together. You have phenomenal compute power, but at the same time, there's a phenomenal cognitive power each brain has, right? And that's somewhere getting neglected. So can we converge them together is the thought process, foundation thought process, I would say, with which we are building Humac. And that's the way I would say, right? It's not going to happen that we are going to be having, let's say, 1.2 billion robots who are working on the manufacturing shop floors, right?
Absolutely.
It's not going to be happening anywhere soon, right? Or I don't see it happening anytime. So we will have to have these two entities coming together. Interestingly, there's another aspect to it, and if you look at any revolution from a tech perspective or for any aspects, right? There are three aspects which are very, very important. One, there's a technology.
Yes.
Second, there is a neuroscience, which is the brain, and third is where you look at the spiritual aspects of it, right? So all these three things together can create a phenomenal stuff, right? Any technology revolution. I mean, if you ask me, AI is brilliantly at the central point of all these three things.
Very key points made by you, and I'm going to delve about it, okay, a little bit more. But I also would like to know, Sarang, that what inspired you to start Parenthesis Systems, and what problems were you most passionate about solving?
So Parenthesis, it happened as an I mean, I would say there was my previous company was building, right. It was successful at a point, and I wanted to scale it beyond that particular aspect, right? But I started realizing that horizontal technology, which was like HR tech, it doesn't scale beyond a particular point, right? You have to be a vertical technology
Yes.
so that you are day in day out on the management stable, right?
Yes.
As a technological
True.
intervention, right? So that's where I started realizing that, okay, can we separate these two things out, and so on and so forth. And then I got the exit from my first company and started Parenthesis. The aspects that we were looking at from from a manufacturing perspective were three key aspects that I was concentrating on, and till date I do that. Is one, there's no trustworthy data.
Mhm.
I mean, you talk about manufacturing shop floors, which are like crazy huge to crazy small, crazily chaotic to very neat and clean. But you have very siloed data, very disparate data. 90% of the time when you look at small and medium segment companies, there's no formal systems that are there, right?
True.
So trustworthy data on the basis of which I can take the decision as a manufacturer was not there, or it's still not there to a certain extent. Second is, if you look at the operators, the frontline operators or the workforce that is there, it is a huge problem. I mean, I can say boldly that, okay, Fourth World War, if it happens, it will always happen on the workforce.
Oh my God. Okay.
Because
That's quite a big statement that
because
you've made. Yeah.
because if you look at Western economies and ecosystems, right, there are no workforce available. There are so let me put the numbers in the context, right? 49% of the global workforce is in the range of 50 years to 65 years. That's a very scary stuff, right? And by means of that, it is already too late to train these people. You
Yeah.
can't do a skill
Yes.
building after 50 years of age. So these are some of the points which which actually have been pressing me, and I wanted to do something around it. And that's where Parenthesis started. That's where we started building Humac on a manufacturing shop floor. How can I amplify the intelligence, look at multiple aspects, create an impact on the overall value chain of manufacturing, is something which was which is how it has started. And now we are sort of adding a question one after the other, right? Wouldn't it be cool that I build something like this, or what if I do something of the other sorts? What if I do maybe training in a different fashion?
Yeah.
What if I start building something which I call it as constructive intelligence or constructive interference, right? Wherein if somebody is going wrong on an operational part, right, can I just nudge and say, hey, you know what, you're going wrong. What if this kind of a facility available for an operator? Now it becomes a very different dimension to look at in the manufacturing shop floor, where an AI co-pilot or an AI co-operator is helping the operator to get the brilliant outcome, and the entire thing becomes very fascinating to look at. I mean, that's something which presses me, day in day out. I mean, that's how it is.
That's phenomenal. And Sarang, related to what we've been discussing, I would like to ask you, and this is a bit visionary, of course, where do you see in the global paradigm, in that particular picture, India as a country, as a nation, becoming an epicenter, or let's say superpower in the AI space?
So I wouldn't look at it from a superpower or a non-superpower perspective, to be very honest, right? I don't look at, see, technology doesn't evolve like I'm somebody who's great and I'm building something. Like, technology should always be for the humanity and the evolution of the human being, a race, right? That hasn't happened. I mean, can we fly because of AI? The answer is no. I mean, we still can't fly, right? But can we levitate if I have enough meditation? The answer is yes, right? Okay. So meditation at that level might have done something which is enhancing the capabilities, right? So, putting aside the jokes. But the way I look at it is there has to be a very, I think there has to be a shared vision when you look at the global landscape, right? That we should look at AI or any technology intervention. How can we look at the next 5 big problems that are going to be impacting the next generations that we have, right? Okay. Are we doing something about that? Yeah. Manufacturing, as I said, it's a crazy problem. That's from the workforce skills, capabilities. Are we doing enough for that? Somehow the answer comes in as no. So people like me comes up with weird thought processes and start pushing it across.
Okay.
We are actually looking at a community kind of a scenario in terms of Industry 5. There are a lot of people who are coming together to build something. So I think it should be a cohesive, collaborative environment that needs to lead everything. And technology should always be like a facilitator towards that. Because, yeah, I mean, otherwise I don't see that, okay, India can be, oh, India is a brilliant place, by the way. I mean, I don't have a single or iota of doubt when I think of India that, we are always, I mean, look at the kind of talents that we have, right? Unfortunately, we've been looked at as a service economy that needs to change, but it is changing,
Yes.
and it will change over a period of time. I'm
Correct.
hopeful for that. And there are brilliant products which are coming out of India, will come out of India. And see, again, with India, the sheer dynamics of the country gives me so many opportunities to look at
Yes.
one problem in multi-dimensional view, right?
True.
Which doesn't happen usually in the Western countries or any part of the world, right? Third is, I always dream of a scenario, and this is where my solution building inspires me. This kind of a thought, right? That we are going to be having a global workforce. There's not going to be one country, one workforce. That's not going to be the scenario.
Okay.
Let's say US, if we talk about, right, the baby boomers are going to be retiring. I mean, by the end of 2030,
Yes.
we would have at least 50% of the globe. I mean, US workforce is out of the thing, right? So you can see a company, a manufacturing factory based out of, let's say, Detroit, Michigan, where there is a Polish manager, a Telugu or a Malayali, machine operator, and there is a US leader, right? Now there are three dynamics in terms of languages,
Exactly.
in terms of cultures, in terms of every damn thing, right? Now think of a scenario that somebody wants to give an instruction to the other. It becomes such a difficult scenario, right? And we are going to be dealing these kind of scenarios in the very near future. So I always look at, can Humac be the one, or can the AI part of it be the one who will actually bridge these particular aspects and be the common thread in all these things, so that operator who's working on a machine can talk to AI or can have a conversation in Malayali,
And
can have a deliver
and AI
the
can
things.
translate
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Okay.
A
Wonderful.
Polish manager or a Scandinavian manager, gives an instruction to the AI, which gets translated and then pushed to the operator. Possible. That's what we're building. That's how the ecosystem is going to be. So, sorry for the long answer, but yeah, I mean, I don't see India or any other country, for an example, leader in anything, right? It has to be a cohesive, collective, collaborative efforts that needs to be going into the ground.
That's very nicely articulated, in fact, Sarang. And with your vision of AI breaking barriers, if we can call that, you often talk about maximizing the man-machine margins. So could you explain what would that means in simple terms, and why is it that you find it is so important today?
See, at this point of time, because of there's been a lot of gap between the Industry 3 revolution and Industrial 4th revolution, and now we are talking about 5th revolution. So look at 4th and 5th, right? There's no gap at all. But 3rd and 4th, there is a huge gap. So there have been so many aspects which have been carried out. So many inefficiencies, if I were to talk about on a manufacturing shop floor, and so many processes, right? They have become a norm over a period of time, right? So as a manufacturer, what I want is, in the dynamic environment, where the socio-economic or the global, supply chains and everything is getting disrupted, right?
Yeah.
What do I want is, I need to have lower cost of production, higher the efficiencies. I don't need to be dependent on the capability of a human being, right?
Correct.
So it does not happen that, okay, if Sarang A is working, I get 85% of efficiency. But if Sarang B starts working, my efficiency dropped to say 50%. That's a huge gap, right?
Yeah.
So when I say a technology intervention like Humac, we are always looking at how can I maximize the human potential, how can I maximize the machine's potential, and by the way, how can I maximize the margins for the customers that we are serving, right?
Yes.
So it's always like how I can put the money back into the customer pocket is something that that's the thought process with which we look at. Yeah.
Brilliant. And I think that's quite nice to hear that, you've evolved all these factors when you're looking at maximizing the man and machine synergy. So that's great. And Sarang, that brings me to the question about your Humac.ai, that your flagship solution, okay, and you're wearing a t-shirt with that brand, okay, is reshaping how the shop floors operate. Now, could you tell us how exactly that particular technology works and what makes it different, maybe from other AI technology operating in the same space?
So what we're doing is there's something which is machine intelligence that we pick from the machines. Then there's a human intelligence. We converge them together and build something which is like an ecosystem or a ambient intelligence, if I may call it as, right? And we look at that. Okay, if for an example, like when we drive a car, right, which is there's a driver assistance system, right, which we have. Now, if Sarang is driving that car, the instructions is going to be different.
Yeah.
If Ronita is driving the car, the instruction is going to be different, right?
Yes.
Similar case, if we look at Humac, and if we can build something like what we've been building, looking at it, right? It's a co-pilot, right, for or a co-operator for an operator. When we start looking at a scenario wherein can I give the, let's say, the word which I termed, which is constructive interference, right? Can I interfere in his word and get him to do something better? Can I tell him what are the next best action that needs to be taken? For a managers, can I tell them that, okay, if you look at a particular problem, how do you solve it from Six Sigma perspective? Mm-hmm. At the same time, how do you see, look at manufacturing, right? There probably could be a consultant who comes at the end of the month, yeah, and tells you that, okay, these are the areas which are improvement areas. These are the areas which are probably where you've gone wrong. Next month, don't do it.
Yeah.
Again, he'll come back the next month. At the end of the day, the conversation remains the same. What if we have a technological intervention wherein you have small agents who are doing these activities day in, day out, real time, and telling you that, okay, as a manager, you're supposed to be doing these particular things. Why? Because Six Sigma, as per Six Sigma, these are the things. If I do a failure mode effective analysis, these are the severe problems that you're going to be having. Why don't you solve it then and there itself? So we talk about a lot of continuous improvements and stuff like that in terms of manufacturing context. I don't want to get into too much of a technical details, but when I look at Humac, it's a co-pilot or a co-operator for the operator. Okay. It can be a insights or a manufacturing expert, so to say, for the managers, mm-hmm, and it can be a value aggregator for the leaders, right?
Okay.
It can look at across the value chain, man, machine, material methods, and start taking something which is from each of the things and present it to the leader, saying that, okay, this is the direction that you need to have. And think of a scenario. I'll just give you a small anecdotal story, right? Yeah. You're heading to your factory 9 o'clock in the morning. You dock your phone into the car and you start having a conversation with Humac, right?
Yeah.
Instead of listening to music, you just ask, what was the production yesterday and what was the problem that I faced? And the Humac tells you everything, as a conversation, and tells you that, okay, there are 5 things that you need to focus on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the things that you go fix. 9:30 when you reach your office or factory, you exactly know what you need to do
for that day, specific day. Okay.
Which will probably take care of the issues which are probably hindering the productions and operations and so on and so forth. So that's the system. That's what Humac is. I mean, as the
I definitely feel that's path breaking, because that's going to be really changing the scenario where people who are taking care of the manufacturing unit, that could just be the solution provider, and definitely a lot more time optimization that I feel will help maybe industrialists or manufacturers to take care of their shop floors. Wow, that's brilliant. Sarang, at GTT Data, we explore the synergy between human intelligence and artificial intelligence. Now, I definitely would like to know from you that how do you personally define the human-machine convergence?
So it's, as the definition says, right? It's a cognition and compute or computation. The convergence of these two is what we are looking at, right? As Humac. So let's say, for an example, you want to cook something, right? You know how to cook, but you don't know the proportions, right? Can there be some technological interventions
Yeah.
which gives you the proportion, saying that, okay, put this much into it, and now this is a collaboration wherein it's not only doing the recipe, but it's also doing same time calorific values. It's also telling you how much proteins you are going to be eating, how many things that are supposed to be put into those particular dish, and so on and so forth, right? Now there are so many things which are coming together, and that is helping you to cook better.
Wow.
And think of a scenario wherein you don't, this is the first time that you are cooking, right? It becomes all the more important, and
Yes.
all the more interesting, right? So I say that when we look at human machine convergence as a realm, right? One of the aspects that I would want to look at is how can we maybe reduce the capability gap, right? Somebody who's not capable to, let's say, produce a particular system or a part, right, or on a manufacturing shop floor, a production outcome, right? Can I build a technological intervention so that I can enhance the capability of that human being through the AI and technology aspects of it? And that's where it becomes very fascinating, right? It becomes very exciting to get into that kind of a realm and explore something which we are doing. Right?
Okay, all right. And how do you think AI has impacted our lives, both in the personal and industrial settings?
Industrial, it is evolving. Personally, it has disrupted. Did it exist before the upsurge? The answer is yes, it did exist, right? I mean, all the algorithms, all the things that we're talking about, deep learning, machine learning, it was all there. People were using it. But the way after, let's say, November 2022,
Yeah.
after GPT came into picture, right? Uh, the application or the way people started looking at it has evolved, right? And it has given a very huge, I would say, impetus to the technology as a whole. And it's fascinating. I mean, the kind of possibilities that you can now think of, AI in all the industry segments, right, from banking to creativity to manufacturing to logistics, supply chain, defense. Everything is like all of a sudden X bar up, right? And that's what makes it very, very amazing. At the same time, when you look at personal lives, I think it needs to be restricted to a certain level, right? Uh, and this is nothing against that particular, but Ghibli image is the example which I would
Okay.
like to definitely
Okay.
bounce
All
off
right.
over here,
Yeah,
right? What
yeah.
we are doing is, it's nothing wrong about creating an image which is AI generated, right? But are we not giving our images, the personal photographs, to the model where it is getting trained? It will look at our emotions, and if it is not used in the right fashion, it can become a threat, right? A
Yes.
potential threat. So we'll have to draw this line in terms of when we talk about AI. I mean, AI has to be for the good, right? Uh, but again, it's a dual-edged sword, right? We have to look at it step at a time. We can't be thinking too many years ahead of time and say, okay, I will do this. Probably we will miss the course somewhere. That's what my fear is, if you ask me.
No, and I will exactly resonate with you on this because with generative AI today, Sarang, we also feel that there is a innate requirement of governance of AI. So it's called, we could probably put it
Sure.
ethical standards in AI.
Absolutely.
Okay, and when you talk about, the disruptive space also that AI can create, and if I kind of stitch it up with, governance of AI, what is your view on that, Sarang?
It's very important. I mean, AI governance is something which has to be there, uh, and there's no second thoughts on it, right? But again, who is the governor? I mean, what are the governing principles that we are putting across, right? That needs to be solidified first,
Defined,
right?
yes.
Because at this point of time, you have, let's say, an EU framework for governance that comes in, you have US framework that comes in, you have Indian framework that will come in, you will have Middle East framework that will come in. At point of time, all these four frameworks starts conflicting each other. Then you have a very different problem that we'll be looking at, from an AI governance perspective. So when I say AI as a global technology landscape, there needs to be an acceptance, governance, foundational aspects, which needs to be a global standards, right? That if it is not good for me, it is not good for anybody. So whatever is good for the society is always good for everybody, right? And that's how that's what Gita teaches us, right? And we should be imbibing these kind of scenarios, right? If it is good for a society, it should be promoted. If it is not, it should be restricted, right? That's how the governance should be.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts on that. But now I'll come to the next question, where your approach blends advanced technology with deep understanding of people and processes. And how do you keep the human at the center of such a tech-driven mission?
See, as I said, technology is always a facilitator. It can't lead human race, right? We are far more advanced species as Homo sapiens, right? We've been the advanced species forever, right?
Yes.
So there is definite aspect that human has to be in the center. Now, when I say a human centricity at a manufacturing aspect, right? 2/3 of the manufacturing activities are still manual, right? There is operator that needs to be looking at those particular aspects, right? Let me give you an example of let's say a wine factory, which is completely different, right? You still have a human who's testing that particular wine and will look at those particular aspects, right? So humans are not going to go away from any industry for that matter, right? So it's very important for us to look at an intervention that will drive the human race, or that will build the next generation of capabilities in the human, right? And if it is helping that kind of a cause, I think that technology direction is an absolute right direction to take, and that's what we actually keep on looking at all the time, right? Are we creating something which will enhance so on an anecdote or on a sidelines, I can reveal something, right?
I'm very keen to hear that.
We have a bot within Humac. The bot is called as Shiva. It is shop floor hidden insights value aggregator.
Okay. That's really interesting. That's fantabulous when you say
Shiva is, by its sheer definition of Shiva, yatra tatra sarvatra, it keeps on looking at the data from every aspects of manufacturing value chain and brings in that value, brings in those insights which can actually and give it to the human, right? And say that, okay, this is the next best thing that you need to do. This will help you. If an operator doesn't know what to do for a problem, right? It can just ask Shiva, saying that, hey, I'm stuck, can you help me? And it will start helping that operator. If there are any anomalies that are detected, it will again come saying that, hey, you know what, don't do this, do this. So the way we are looking at is not the technology overshadowing a human, right?
Yes.
We are looking at a scenario wherein a technology comes in rescue of a human who's probably need that rescuing at that point of time. And that's where Humac is looking at the entire shop floor, or this is how the positioning is from my perspective, the way I look at it.
One thing is quite evident, that you're trying to create an ecosystem where you want human and machines to coexist together, and probably, human getting the maximum benefit out of it while they're delivering on the shop floor. And that's definitely quite revolutionizing, if I must say, Sarang, because I think that can completely change how the manufacturing industry will operate in times to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, making great again kind of a scenario. So I have my vision, my own vision, which is like making the manufacturing industry great again, right? Can we do that particular aspects by creating some technology interventions? The answer is yes. I mean, otherwise people are not going in the manufacturing shop floor, right?
Absolutely.
Somebody becomes an engineer, they don't even want to look at the data. They don't want to learn certain aspects. They want to become AI engineer from the next day they get out of the college, right? We still need to eat. We still need to wear the clothes. We still need to drive the cars, vehicles, right?
Yes.
Which means we still need manufacturing, right?
Absolutely.
So everything can't be there. So can we create an ecosystem in a manufacturing wherein the entire talent again start coming back, to the manufacturing industry floors? That's how it is.
So what's the most surprising insight that you have learned while working closely with frontline operators in manufacturing?
Oh, this is amazing. I mean, all my learnings uh, has been through the operators, right? So the first thing that I'll do, the moment we sign up a customer, right, I'll go and stand with the operator on the manufacturing shop floor in front of the machines, and I'll start understanding that how is he looking at it, right? Because if I work with a machine, right, over a period of n number of years, right, I start building an emotional connect with the machine, right, with the factory, with the ecosystem. Uh, and if I come tomorrow and say that, okay, this is a technology intervention which is going to change every damn thing, there's a huge resistance that will come out, right? So, in order to make sure that what is the operator looks at, and again, this is where human centricity elements also comes into picture, right? How far should I push the technology into somebody's life, right? On when he's working, right? And at times we've been looked at, or rather, we have looked at a scenario wherein a judgment of an operator on a machine is far superior than any machine learning algorithm, right?
Okay.
Because he understands the machine in a different way, which probably a technology can't understand, right?
Absolutely.
A data can't understand. And so sometimes, these conversations with the operators help me build something which is very, again, uh, which is not intruding too much, but also helping him to maybe go a notch higher. And that's how we are essentially looking at. But operators, to be very honest, I mean, we have phenomenal set of operators. Unfortunately, there is a diminishing, I mean, there is a knowledge transfer becoming a big issue. So if there is operators which are getting retired, how do I retain their knowledge is something where, again, Humac comes into picture, and we are trying to build those kind of scenarios wherein can I look at, a brilliant operator, take the understandings, how he's operating the machine,
Yes.
and can I start replicating those particular things on a, let's say, an operator who's like very fresh into the system, yeah. And we've kind of started doing these particular experiment, and it has been helping us phenomenally, yeah. I mean, it's
Wow.
So I think that's where the technology should play a very, very critical role.
Yes. So now let's flip to the personal side for a moment. There's a lot of technology-based questions that we've been asking you, but you are a writer and you're a musician as well as a father.
Yeah.
So how do you, how do your creative interests that you have that influences your professional life? So you're a different person, on a personal space, and on the other side, you're completely technology-driven. So what is it that keeps you going on that
It's very
front?
interesting. So I'm a tabla player. So I've been a disciple of one of the greatest in India, and I've had my concerts and things like that. So I'll tell you the way a tabla player needs to be looked at, and this is how Ustaz Zakir Hussain has always been teaching, right? That a companion should not overshadow somebody who's like a performer, right? So if I'm companion to, let's say, a santoor player or a sitar player, I should be always following the aspects that he's trying to play, or the expressions that he's trying to explore, right? Now, what happens at the back end, right, of a musician, right? There is a cognition which is happening when I'm understanding with which mood that he's establishing a raga and things like that. And there is a computation which is also happening, right? Because there is a beat cycle which is there.
True.
Now I have to fit in all the experiments, whatever I'm playing, in that rhythmic cycle. So I can't miss the sum. I can't miss coming on to those particular aspects, right? So there is always a computation and cognition simultaneously happening, right? And that's something which I keep on looking at in the real life as well, right? When I'm sitting with the team, I try to understand that, okay, or try to look at a scenario that, okay, what if a human body is the machine that I'm looking at, right? How do you replicate these particular aspects? Because there's so many parallels that you can draw in from the nature, from multiple aspects, right? And then you can. It's always about transfer learning, to be very honest. I mean, if there's a term which I have to put it across, it's a transfer learning. You learn a particular skill in one area, you master that skill, and then you start looking at it from a perspective that how can I, replicate this skill in some other facets.
Okay.
And that's what essentially AI is looking at, right? Somebody is good in let's say Six Sigma, right? they have been looking at certain aspects in a certain way. Can I take the same business process improvement lessons and can I replicate onto a different industry altogether? Can it resonate? The answer is yes. So I don't see any bifurcation that personally I'm different, professionally I'm different. No, I'm like 24/7, same weird person, thinking about same stuff, right? And sometimes I'll teach my sons also, right? That okay, this is how you need to look at certain things. It is amazing.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this was trying to decode Sarang, okay, for us as a founder, as an entrepreneur, and someone who's so fond of tech and, of course, the human aspects as well. But Sarang, many founders talk about grit, okay, but you talk about value creation as an evolving journey. So, can you unpack that philosophy for us?
See, the value creation comes from two aspects, and this is my version of it, right? I have to be phenomenally passionate about certain things, right? And at the same time, I should be equally enthusiastic about exploring multi dimensions in that particular thing, right? Then and only then I'll be able to create value for my customers, for the stakeholders, or for the employees that I have, right? I mean, as Steve Jobs in one of the interviews said, right? Can I give a phenomenal challenge to the employee on a particular day, which is kind of shaping their lives altogether, right? So we always start looking at these particular aspects wherein uh, value creation is like I'll tell you a very simple way I look at it. If I'm in the same value system, or if I take myself into the customer's value system and I start experiencing the pain that a customer is going through, I would look at a problem in a very different aspect, right? Vis-a-vis, I want to look at, okay, I need to have, let's say, 100 customers and all hundreds of them are crying and I'm making phenomenal profits, right? Is this kind of a scenario that I want to see? The answer is no. I would probably have 10 customers who are extremely happy about what we are doing together, and it's a shared vision that we are chasing, right? And that's what I do. I mean, I have frequent conversations with my customers. I go travel, sit with them, understand what is it that is their pain areas, or something which I'm passionately building, right? Something I can go and tell the customer that okay, use it, it will help you. And in my recent conversations, clients have been phenomenally they were surprised that okay, how can I think of this particular solution of their problems, and B, they were like very happy that I have been thinking about them, their system as one of their family members. So that is something which is way different, right? And then if you ask me, grit is always there. I mean, if you ask about any passionate founder who wants to create something which is not there, there's always a grit. You can't do away with these three things, right?
True that. Yeah. So, Sarang, with the pace of change that we see today in AI and Industry 5.0, right there knocking at our door, how do you stay future ready? And I think this question has come to my mind because you are managing things as a leader and also you have your company parenthesis, okay? Sure. So, how do you see this evolving?
Look, the future is amazing. I mean, the way or the pace at which we are evolving certain areas in the technology is amazing. That excitement is something which actually makes me look at multiple aspects, right? I don't come from a tech background, to be very honest, and so many aspects I have been learning on the job, right? Those particular aspects are something which is very amazing. I mean, I don't come from an extrusion industry, but when I now talk to an extrusion person, I talk about extrusion as if I have been in extrusion forever, right? CNC machines, VMC machines, machine tools. Unless and until you're passionate, you don't get into these particular aspects. And second is when you actually into the stream of the way things are shaping up or unfolding, you can actually look at the future. As I said, something which is definitely going to happen in next 3 years' time, wherein humans and machines will have to come together,
coexist. Yes.
There's going to be a scenario which is global workforce or a global talent pool, if we say so.
Absolutely.
It's gonna be there, right? It's just a few years away, I would say. There needs to be a readiness for that, and as a technology, we should look at it, how can I bring both the things together? Apart from that, I read a lot. I mean, that's about it. I mean, I not from a tech perspective. Uh, I would read something which is the philosophy aspects of it, how we evolve as the human being. What are the things which probably we will start thinking about? Is the technology going to make us a little lazy?
Yeah.
So will we require something like slap maybe, or a pinch maybe, to wake us up? Yeah, I mean, all these things are going to happen. Also, one thing is very true, that we can't, in this particular era, we can't think like 5 years down the line. For me, future is 6 months, maybe
fast.
9 months, or maybe a year.
Yeah.
Beyond that, it's reset, come back to the zero, again start looking at the next year. That's how it is. It has been evolving.
And I think a very honest answer, that you just shared with us. So this brings us to the last question of the conversation, and definitely, Sarang, we want to know from you. You've shared so much of knowledge, so much of I think thoughts about how you've been dealing in this space or dwelling in this space. That for young entrepreneurs or technologists listening to this, to this conversation that we are having today, what's one core belief or habit that helped you build and lead with impact?
One is very difficult, to be very honest. But if I have to pin down on one, I would say it is the work ethic. Ethics as me as a person, ethics as me as a founder, ethics with my company, ethics with the product that I'm trying to build, ethics with the way the industry. Now, all things needs to come in, right? So I always look at technology as a respite to express myself, right? If my expressions are flawed, I wouldn't create a product which is like, which can actually create an impact in the industry, right? So I need to have the purest expressions in terms of, while I'm building a particular product, because it is, at the end of the day, it's like a crafting a piece of art, through something, right? I mean, look at Apple for an example. Look at ChatGPT also, right?
Yeah.
It is a piece of an art, and the purest of the emotions have gone into building such amazing products, right? Such large companies. It can't happen when you, if you don't look at it from that purity perspective. So I always feel that work ethic at the time, would be one of the most prominent thing, supported by enthusiasm, passion, integrity. All these aspects are there, but yeah, that one thing, if you ask me, I'll probably say yes. Just to give you another
Example.
aspect here, if I'm building something, can I put 19 hours tirelessly without looking at I have to work on, let's say, 90 hours a week or something of that sort, right?
That's controversial, by the way.
No, but then I always look at, if I'm building something very passionately, I live that particular product 24/7, right? And that's how a founder think, right? And which is where the transfer learning comes in, right? If I look at something on a traffic signal, right? If I look at something that somebody is building, if I hear somebody is building something, I always should look at whether can I replicate these particular things into my product. Will it make some sense? So, which means that I'm not switching off at all from the work that I'm doing, and that passion is always going day in, day out, each and every second, in building the product, in building the company, and that's how I think. I mean, I don't know about being controversial or not, but that's how I think, right? And some of the young entrepreneurs, I'll always say that, okay, don't go for very easy successes, right? I mean, it's not true. It doesn't happen. If we don't build something which doesn't contribute into the society, then it's not a great path.
Yes.
That's my view. I mean, people can have a different views.
Of course. And even if the views differ, but then I think you come from the perspective where you've really built things from the core, from the very ground level, and you've brought it up over here.
See, again, as I said, the technology, the neuroscience or psychology, and spirituality has to come together. And if you see every product, every great company, you'll always feel that, okay, there was a science element, there was a psychological element, there was always a behavioral element, there was always spirituality which was involved into it, at the back of it. But then there is a noble aspect which was always there, right? And that's how it is.
Yes.
So Steve Jobs, I mean, when he was actually building Apple and things like that, right? He was trying to create a logo, and when he went to his spiritual guru, then he asked, he was having a conversation with him, and the spiritual guru said that, okay, introduce something which is one of the 5 elements, and Earth was the aspect that came in.
Yeah.
Because of Earth, the gravity came into picture. Because of gravity, Apple came into picture, and that's where the Apple as a thing got
Logo.
into the the entire thing. So now this is a spirituality at the core of it, right?
Yes.
You never know these kind of stories because they don't come out.
True.
I read it somewhere and sharing it with you and
No, but
the
that's
folks.
wonderful. Just out of curiosity, has Steve Jobs been your inspiration primarily, or
one of yes,
Yes.
for sure, yes. One of the inspiration points for sure. Yes.
But I must say that, Sarang, your journey has been truly inspiring. The conversation that we had here with you today, the candid and authentic element of it really makes you stand apart. And what we really admired is the fact that you've taken a very human-centric approach while maximizing, machines and the synergy between man and machine, of course. But very, very insightful, eye-opening, and on behalf of the GTT Data Solutions team and ChatGTT, we would like to wish you all the very best in this journey of, making the manufacturing segment a brilliant synthesis of AI and human. All the very best to parenthesis, to Humac.ai, and to you, Sarang.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being
Wonderful
here.
meeting
Thank
you. Thank you very much. Thank you.